This is a 2024 Toyota 4Runner TRD Pro, and today I'll be taking off this roof rack. So when these roof racks are installed, they're put in with two Torx 40 bolts with red thread locker, and you can use either a blowtorch, a heat gun, or a soldering iron to heat up the thread lock. Otherwise, you do run the risk of just snapping the bolt into two pieces, and then you've got a lot more work on your hands. So I have this set up in order to show exactly how long, at least with my setup, it takes to get the heat from here to here. So as you see, I've got one bolt removed. I have it set up. Soldering iron is heated, and we're going to see just how warm or hot this area of the threads gets with the soldering iron heat applied just like this. Okay, so I didn't want to bore you with the weighting, and obviously this isn't exactly the same scenario as we have when this is installed within the factory clip. There's some different heat transfer properties, I'm sure, here, but I found that after about 4 minutes, this whole area became noticeably warm, almost hot to the touch, and that seemed to be just enough to allow this thread locker to be released a little bit easier and without risking breaking the bolt. So for the rest of the 6 bolts that are in the roof rack, I'm going to heat the inside of the Torx recess within the head here for about 4.5 minutes to be safe. I think that will do it. So I have taken a lot of precautions here so that nothing gets scratched or melted. Any issues? Okay, so we'll turn this on. We have our ratchet set up, 3/8 extension and a Torx 40 bit, and we'll start heating. I've just started heating this front bolt, and now we are just about at the 4.5 minute mark. For my particular soldering iron, I've got it kind of stuck in between the nubs of the Torx 40 indent. I have my ratchet ready to go, and I'll take the soldering iron out and start trying to break this loose. Okay, there's a lot of resistance there, so I'm going to heat some more. We'll see if I can just soften up that Loctite a little bit further than it probably is now. I have the soldering iron in there another minute or so, maybe a minute and a half. We'll try again. See if it will go further. And it will. There's a little bit less resistance. Okay. So that's looking probably about halfway through the thread locked threads, but now we have to go to this bolt. Okay, so again, I've spared you the boredom of watching me heat this one bolt, but I've been heating it now for about 2.5 to 3 minutes. I just want to see if it's softened enough to break loose, and maybe doesn't need quite the whole 4.5 minutes. Let's find out. So I don't feel a lot of resistance. Maybe this one just doesn't have as much thread locker applied, or maybe I was correct in trying a little less than 4 minutes on the soldering iron. We'll go back to our other bolt. Okay, I've given this one a couple of minutes of soldering iron time. I have our ratchet ready to go. Let's try again. That feels pretty good. Soldering iron off. I think we're in the clear for this corner now. I'm backing these out little by little. Again, so that we don't apply too much force and disengage the threaded bracket that's inside the roof from jumping off the retainer and creating an issue where we have to drop the headliner. Now it's just hand tight. That one's got a little bit of resistance, but not a lot. And there you go. Both bolts extracted, no drama. Now I'm going to set this up for the next corner. So now I'm set up for the front left corner, and what I'm going to do on this one is actually just start the loosening to see when I get resistance. Right about there. Okay, and now I'll be heating the inside of the Torx indent there for about 3 to 3.5 minutes, and we'll see if that's enough, as it was on that last left rear corner bolt. Okay, it's been right at 3 minutes on this exact area here. I have my ratchet ready and we'll see if there's any improvement. I felt a big difference there. See if I can just get it to where it's hand tight, past the thread lock, but still in the retainer because I still have to break this one loose. Okay, so this one's loose. Now I'm going to heat up this one. As you see, I'm heating up the second bolt on this left front corner. What I didn't show is that I did give the bolt about a quarter to a half turn counterclockwise until I met resistance. And I've now had this soldering iron on with what it says is 500 degrees for right at 3 minutes. So according to the others, I should be able to break this loose. There's a little bit of resistance, but it's not a lot. There's some resistance, so I'm going to give this some more heat. So I've been heating this bolt for about a minute and a half. We'll go a little bit longer, and then I'll try again. Ratchet ready. Gonna try to not let that heat escape. Okay, work it the other way. And now back again. That's feeling really good. Now, see where we're at. I don't have arthritis. This is just how my hands are shaped. Okay. Looks like these are free. And there you are. Okay, thank you if you've been with me the whole time. If you haven't, I'll recap. I'm taking the 2 bolts out of the front right corner of the TRD Pro roof rack so I can remove that roof rack. And on the bench, it seemed that the bolt head needed about 4 to 4.5 minutes of heat from my soldering iron in order for the area that the thread lock material is applied to warm up. In real world, through doing the other corners, it seems like 3 to 3.5 minutes is sufficient. And this is not a name brand, but it is a digital soldering iron. I'm going to heat it up to 500 degrees. Before I heat it though, I am going to give these bolts a little turn until they meet resistance. That one's already there. This one seems like about a quarter turn until it meets real resistance. So I'm going to keep that ready. The idea is once I heat this, obviously it's going to cool down kind of rapidly. So I want to take advantage of as much softening of the thread locker that I can. So we'll start our heating right in one of the areas in between the nubs of the Torx keyed head, and hold it here for about 3.5 minutes. Okay, so I've spared you the waiting. We're approaching 3.5 minutes in this one spot at what my soldering iron claims to be is 500 degrees Celsius. Okay, and out. You can hear the thread lock giving. It's way looser than it was just a few minutes ago. I still want to leave that bolt in there, but I want to get it past the thread lock as much as I can. And we'll leave it right there. And do the same here. So again, this is already where it's met quite a bit of resistance. If you continue turning it, it probably will break. So I'm going to now, of course, heat this bolt the same way, 3.5 minutes. Okay, so on the other bolts, I did try a couple of different times. I tried 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 3.5 minutes. It seems like in this case, with these bolts, with this soldering iron, I get the best results with 3.5 minutes. So I'm going to remove the soldering iron. Give it some pressure. It's immediately a lot looser than it was before. Kind of get it caught up with the other bolt. Soldering iron off. That one's just barely beyond hand tight right now. Catch this one up. That's about the same. I feel like these are both about hand tight. And again, we don't want to create too much rotational force on the bracket inside the roof, otherwise it will jump off of the retainer, and then you'll have to track it down by removing trim to get to that area of the headliner. There you go. There's that one. And there's that one. Okay, so here's what I used during that process. Just a 3/8 ratchet extension and a T40 3/8 Torx 40 adapter with my digital soldering iron, and I was able to get all 8 of these bolts out with no issues. The roof rack is ready to come off. I don't have any help here, so as you see, I laid down a bunch of microfibers and towels along with a moving blanket. And what I'm going to do is take this thing off myself. It's not ideal. It'd be a lot easier with one person on each side, obviously. But this is how I'll do it. All right. Got the moving blanket here, towels underneath. Ideally, nothing should rub or even put so much as a scratch in the clear coat. Okay, I've got to work back a little. I've got to work back about 2 inches. I'll have a little bit better leverage now since it's out of the holes in the roof. And again, those soft microfibers are the only thing touching the roof. Just going to shimmy this back. No sliding is occurring underneath here. A little bit further and should be able to grab it. And there it is. So now, just remove our blankets and towels, and obviously we have these holes to deal with. Okay, so I'm set up to remove the old bracket, install the new bracket from this set, which is identical, but this rubber is uncompressed. So in theory, this with the new bolts, which are going to have slightly different indentation areas than the ones removed, should give us the best possible seal. It also includes the cap, which does have an orientation. So just pop this off. The original thread sealant is the Toyota 3-bond 1324. From all my research, I've found that the Loctite 271 is the closest, and it should be just fine. Drop that in. And that extension and a 10mm socket. I have my torque wrench set to 23 Newton meters. Just getting these snug for now. Okay. Right there. And right there. The cap, wide gap here, narrow gap here. Just like that. So that's all done. You get a lot more of a smooth profile now. It's not going to be quite as fast as a Ferrari, but every little bit helps.